I'm sure we can all agree on the fact that the 2021 NBA season is one like no other. There's more than 5 teams who are all true contenders for the title, and almost every team has one or two superstars. To get that edge over everyone else, every franchise would be looking towards trading players to make their roster even better than before. And that's why I'm going to go over 5 NBA superstar trades that could change everything in the NBA. Well then, let's get started. The first trade is going to be between the Raptors and the Heat, where the Heat will receive Kyle Lowry for Goran Dragic and Kelly Olynyk. To say that both teams have had a slow start to the season is an understatement. None of them are playing like they were expected to, and well, for them to have a chance of making it to the playoffs and becoming contenders, something has to change. This trade would be a win for both teams because the guard position is something that the Heat have wanted to improve since last season. Because even though Dragic is a really good player, he gets injured way too often, and that's a risk that this team doesn't want to take with him. Teaming up Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo creates a nice big three for the Heat, and that would do 2 things for this team. First off, it will get them out of the slump that they're in right now, so they can actually reach the postseason. And if they do, Larry would also help the team to reach new heights during the playoffs. With his experience and the young, talented roster that Miami has, they might be able to do what they couldn't last year. Also, Larry is going to be a free agent after this season, so the Heat could extend his contract and make another run at the title in the coming years. Because come on, we all know that Kyle Lowry's skill isn't going anywhere for at least another 2 years. Obviously, this trade does a lot for this Miami team, but how would it exactly benefit the Raptors? Well, it would be a low-risk move that would give Toronto a bit more stability in the next couple of seasons. This is Kyle Lowry's 9th season with this team, and in those years he's given his heart and soul. But as I mentioned before, his contract is almost done, and him returning to the team is not a certain thing. So trading him while they still can would be a pretty smart idea for the Raptors. And well, who's exactly a better option than a good veteran guard? Goran Dragic would be the perfect replacement for the Raptors, and Kelly Olynyk would also be a nice little bonus that would help the Raptors in the center position. The next trade on this list is going to be Zach LaVine to the Pelicans for Lonzo Ball and 2 future first-round picks. The Bulls, being the Bulls, are on the path to have yet another disappointing season, and like most other superstars on a really bad team, Zach LaVine is going to be in the trading block sooner or later, and obviously there's going to be a lot of teams pursuing him. One of the potential trade options would be with the Pelicans, and with this, both the teams and the players will benefit. Lonzo Ball will be able to have a fresh start in a new environment, and LaVine could take his talents to some place where he actually has a chance of competing for a title. Right now, the Pelicans are still somewhat in a rebuilding phase, but with the improvements shown by Brandon Ingram and the all-star performance put on by Zion, there's a lot of potential for this team. With Zach LaVine, New Orleans wouldn't instantly become a title contender, but the Big Three could give the team a chance to compete in the loaded Eastern Conference if they work out. And for the Bulls, this trade would work out great if at any time Zach LaVine decides that he's had enough. Instead of having a superstar who doesn't really want to play there, the Bulls can get a promising guard in Lonzo and 2 future first-round picks, which would also help them start another rebuilding phase. The third trade scenario is going to be Ben Simmons to the Cavaliers, and honestly I find this one really interesting. In return, the 76ers would receive Darius Garland, Larry Nance Jr., and 1 or 2 first-round picks. So exactly why would the 76ers want to trade the guy who just dropped 43 a couple nights ago? Well, Philadelphia is one of the best teams in the league right now. Joel Embiid is playing on a whole new level and is looking like a solid MVP candidate. And then there's a surprising performance that Tobias Harris is putting on, which is also one of the reasons why this team is where it is. In a way, it would make sense for them to build a team around Embiid instead of wasting resources on Ben Simmons. So far into the season, he's been playing worse than last year, so that might cause the 76ers to realize that he's already reached his ceiling, and trading him right now when he's worth the most is probably the best thing to do. What makes Philadelphia one of the best teams in this Eastern Conference is their depth. They have 5 solid players in their starting lineup, and switching Darius Garland, who's a young player with a ton of potential, for Ben Simmons while getting future picks would work perfect for this team, both in the short term and the long term. What would the Cavs get out of this? Well, since LeBron left the team back in 2018, the Cavaliers have been in a rebuilding phase, and so far, they've done quite a lot with drafts and trades. Pairing up Ben Simmons with Colin Sexton would give the team a really nice backcourt. Sexton is looking like a real deal this season, which makes him a kind of player you would want to build a franchise around, and adding Simmons to the mix would give the Cavaliers just enough star power for other players to want to be part of this team. Also, let's not forget that Simmons could still turn his career around and reach that star potential. And for the Cavs, that would be a risk worth taking. The next trade on this list is going to be Andre Drummond to the Trailblazers. In the past couple of games, the Cleveland Cavaliers have been sitting Drummond out so they can find a trade for him or buy him out altogether. So obviously he won't be staying there, and pairing him up with CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard could be really beneficial for both teams. Entering the 2021 NBA season, there were a lot of expectations surrounding the Trailblazers, and honestly, they reached and surpassed all of them. They're 4th in the Western Conference right now and are looking to make a run in the postseason, but injuries haven't exactly made it easy for them. Jusuf Nurkic, who was their starting center, is out with injuries for at least a couple more weeks, and even though Enes Kanter has been able to step up, it still isn't getting the job done for the Blazers if they want to be a contender. Trading for Andre Drummond would give them that edge which the team needs to improve their chances of winning a title. So what is the trade? It would be Drummond for Jusuf Nurkic, Rodney Hood, Zach Collins, and 2 future draft picks. This would make a lot of sense for the Cavs because even though they started the season off hot, the chances of them making the playoffs is pretty much nothing. And just like I mentioned before, the best thing they can do at this moment is continue searching for young talent to build with for years to come. Zach Collins and Rodney Hood would both be great young options for this team because of their potential to grow and fit into the franchise. Having a solid second unit would be vital for the Cavs in the coming, but those players aren't really the main thing that the Cavs would benefit from, but rather it would be the 2 first-round picks. They already have a pretty impressive young core, and adding 2 future first-rounders is only going to make it better. And as for the Trailblazers, they'll finally get the support they need in their front court. Andre Drummond will give them a double-double every single night, and that's exactly what they need in their center. Losing Zach Collins and Rodney Hood will have its own downsides, but if the Blazers decide to make a run with their current roster, this would be the trade for them. We finally reached the most exciting trade, and that is Bradley Beal to the Warriors. I know that Beal has said that he's going to stay with the Wizards, but I personally don't think that's going to last, and if it's going to come out of there by the end of the season, the best possible trade scenario would be with the Warriors. He could be the player who can turn around this Golden State team in the short term and also play an enormous role in the long term. I don't really need to explain how impactful Beal will be because we already know that. So what do the Warriors have to offer? Well, they've got a 2nd draft pick for next year, James Wiseman, another first round pick, and either Kelly Oubre Jr. or Andrew Wiggins. That's a pretty stacked trade and not that many other teams could offer the same thing, so if a trade was to happen, it would be with the Golden State. Obviously, with this much young talent and future picks, the Wizards would be able to start rebuilding their team once more. It's a trade which would result in both teams winning without risking much. It would also be pretty interesting to see what happens with every other team until the end of the trade deadline. If I missed any other superstar trades or if you have a different take, just let me know in the comments. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to drop a like and subscribe so you can get access to all the videos as soon as they're released. Well, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video.